Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. James scrolled through the dating app on his phone, swiping left and right on the profiles that popped up. It had become almost routine at this point. A new match here, a conversation that fizzled out there. He went on dates regularly enough, usually with girls he met through the app or friends of friends, but nothing ever seemed to stick. There was always something missing, some lack of a real connection or spark. He came across a profile that made him pause. The photo showed an attractive woman with long dark hair and captivating eyes. Her bio was witty and engaging. James felt intrigued, swiping right to indicate his interest. To his surprise and delight, "It's a match" message instantly appeared. He smiled to himself, examining her profile more closely. James noticed something in her bio he had initially glanced over. 3 words that suddenly gave him pause. Trans girl, she, her pronouns. His brow furrowed slightly. He had never seriously considered dating a trans woman before. It wasn't something he was opposed to, it had simply never come up. James prided himself on being an open-minded guy, but he had to admit this was new territory. Still, something about this girl utterly captivated him. More than just her undeniable beauty, her profile exuded intelligence, humor, and a zest for life that spoke to James on a deep level. After a moment of hesitation, he tapped out a message. "Hi there, I'm James. Your bio honestly made me laugh out loud, which is a high compliment coming from me. I'd love to chat more if you're up for it." He hit send before he could second-guess himself further. James went about his day, trying not to obsessively check for a reply. Later that evening, his phone pinged with a new message. It was her. "Well, hello, James. I'm so glad my charming wit has already won you over. I go by Natalie, by the way. Consider me thoroughly up for it in terms of further conversation." James grinned at his phone screen. He could already tell he liked this girl. They began messaging back and forth, first through the app, then graduating to texting. The conversation flowed effortlessly. They talked about everything: their jobs, hobbies, favorite movies and music, hilarious dating horror stories. James found himself cracking up at Natalie's dry humor and clever turns of phrase. As the days went by, they grew closer, sharing more personal details and anecdotes from their lives. James opened up about his somewhat strained relationship with his parents and his dreams of becoming a writer. Natalie told him about her challenging but rewarding work as a software engineer and her own family's process of accepting her identity. Although they still hadn't met in person, James felt like he had known Natalie for years. They just clicked on every level. He started eagerly awaiting her texts and marveling at how a simple message from her could brighten his whole day. After a couple weeks of nonstop communication, James finally worked up the nerve to ask Natalie on a proper date. He suggested they meet for dinner at a cozy Italian restaurant downtown. His heart raced as he waited for her response. "James, I would absolutely love that," came Natalie's reply. "But before we meet up, I just want to make sure you're fully comfortable with the fact that I'm trans. I completely understand if that's a deal breaker for you." James smiled softly at her message. He had already thought a lot about this. While it was undeniably a new situation for him, his growing feelings for Natalie far outweighed any uncertainty. He knew this connection was special. "Natalie, I'll be totally honest. This is new for me. But the way I feel about you, that's what matters most. I would love to take you out and see where this goes. Your identity doesn't change that." "You don't know how much that means to me," Natalie replied. "I can't wait for our date." When the night of their dinner arrived, James was admittedly nervous. He changed his shirt 3 times before heading out, wanting to look his best. All his nerves melted away the second he saw Natalie waiting outside the restaurant. She looked stunning in a deep green dress that made her eyes sparkle. Her hair fell around her shoulders in soft waves. Most of all, her bright, genuine smile as she saw James approaching made his heart flutter wildly in his chest. He pulled her into a warm hug, any first date awkwardness quickly dissipating. "Natalie, wow, you look incredible," James said earnestly as they headed inside. She beamed at him. "You clean up pretty well yourself. I'm so glad we're finally doing this." As they slid into a cozy booth and perused the menus, it struck James how natural and right this felt, like reuniting with someone he'd known forever. The conversation picked up right where it always did, flowing easily between them. Natalie had James in stitches recounting a story from work, complete with vivid character impressions. He found himself captivated by the way her eyes danced as she spoke. Everything about her, from her quick wit to her overt intelligence to her undeniable beauty, drew him in like a moth to a flame. The night sped by, full of laughter, effortless conversation, and the excitement of a clear mutual attraction. When the check came, they playfully fought over it before agreeing to split it. Neither wanted the evening to end. "I'm having such a wonderful time with you," James said, looking into Natalie's warm brown eyes. "I felt so connected to you already, but this is even better than I imagined." "I know exactly what you mean," Natalie said softly, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "This just feels so right, doesn't it?" They lingered over coffee, both stalling the end of the date. When they finally left the restaurant, James intertwined his fingers with Natalie's as they strolled down the sidewalk. She leaned into him slightly. Wandering side by side, they came across a street musician playing a soulful rendition of "Can't Help Falling in Love." James turned to Natalie with a half smile. "May I have this dance?" he asked, half jokingly. To his pleasant surprise, she grinned and nodded. James pulled her close, one hand on the small of her back as they swayed to the music under the glow of the streetlights. "I'm really glad I swiped right on you," James murmured, his face inches from hers. Natalie laughed lightly. "Well, I'm really glad I swiped right back," she replied, her eyes sparkling up at him. In that moment, as the crooning Elvis lyrics surrounded them, James knew he was falling hard and fast for this incredible woman in his arms. When the song ended, they reluctantly pulled apart. James held Natalie's gaze, feeling his heart swell. "I don't want tonight to end," he said softly. "But I also don't want to rush this. You're so special, Natalie. I want to do this right." She smiled, reaching up to gently run her fingers along his cheek. "Tonight has been magical. I want to savor every step with you, James. We have all the time in the world." He leaned down, softly brushing his lips against hers. The kiss was tender and sweet, saying so much that words couldn't. When they eventually parted, James rested his forehead against Natalie's. "You're an incredible woman, Natalie. I'm so grateful our paths crossed when they did." "Me too, James. I'm excited to see where this journey takes us." Hand in hand, they slowly walked back to Natalie's car. James held open her door like a gentleman. They kissed once more, slow and full of unspoken promise. "Text me when you're home safe, okay?" James said as she slid behind the wheel. Natalie flashed him a glowing smile. "I will. Talk to you soon, James." He watched her drive away, simultaneously wishing she could stay and knowing this was just the beginning. James felt like his world had shifted in the most wonderful way. In a daze, he headed home, replaying every perfect moment of their evening together. His phone soon pinged with a message. "Home safe and sound. I can't stop smiling. Thank you for an absolutely enchanting night. I'm so looking forward to more. Sweet dreams, James." "Sweet dreams, Natalie," he texted back. "Here's to the start of something amazing." James plugged in his phone and laid back on his bed, grinning at the ceiling. He marveled at the unexpected path that led such a breathtaking woman into his life. Someone who made him laugh, captivated his mind, ignited his heart. Someone he connected with on every level. As he drifted off to sleep, James realized one thing with pure clarity. Labels be damned. He was falling head over heels in love with Natalie, and he couldn't wait to see what the future held. James and Natalie's relationship blossomed beautifully in the weeks following their enchanting first date. They saw each other constantly, stealing lunch dates between work obligations, spending long evenings together talking about anything and everything. Every moment in Natalie's presence felt electric yet comfortable, like coming home to a place he never knew he belonged. One crisp autumn afternoon, as they strolled hand in hand through the park, colorful leaves crunching beneath their feet, James knew he needed to voice the thoughts that had been swirling through his mind. He led Natalie to a quiet bench overlooking the tranquil pond. "Natalie, I need to talk to you about something," James began, his heart quickening. She turned to him, her expression open and encouraging, patiently waiting for him to find the right words. "I've never felt this way about anyone before," James said softly, vulnerability shining in his eyes. "You've captivated my heart in a way I didn't even know was possible. Every moment with you feels so perfect, so right." Natalie smiled, touched by the raw emotion in his voice. She squeezed his hand reassuringly. "I feel the same way, James," she murmured. "You've brought so much joy and love into my life. I never imagined I could have a connection like this." James took a deep breath, steadying himself for the crux of the conversation. "I need you to know that before I met you, I never considered myself gay," he said carefully. "I've only ever dated cisgender women. But the way I feel about you, Natalie, it transcends any label. My attraction to you, my affection for you. It's not about your gender identity. It's about your incredible heart, your brilliant mind, your gorgeous soul." Natalie listened intently, her eyes shining with understanding and appreciation. "James, I want you to know that what you're feeling is completely valid," she said gently, reaching up to caress his cheek. "Your attraction to me isn't gay because I'm a woman. Plain and simple. You don't need to question or label your sexuality just because I'm transgender." James let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding, relief washing over him at her words. "I think part of me knew that," he admitted. "But hearing you say it, it just reaffirms what I feel in my heart. I'm falling in love with you, Natalie. Not because of or in spite of you being trans, but because of the jaw-dropping, inspiring, compassionate person you are." Natalie's eyes misted over, a radiant smile spreading across her face. She leaned in, capturing James's lips in a tender kiss that conveyed every ounce of affection and acceptance flowing between them. As they lost themselves in the loving embrace, the world around them faded away. In that perfect moment, labels and societal expectations meant nothing. All that mattered was the profound love blossoming between two souls who had found their missing piece in each other. When they finally pulled apart, James rested his forehead against Natalie's, cradling her face in his hands like she was the most precious thing in his universe. Because to him, she was. "Thank you for understanding me, for seeing me, the real me," James whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You are an absolutely extraordinary woman, Natalie. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Thank you for opening your heart to me, for embracing all that I am," Natalie replied softly, happy tears glinting in her eyes. "I never dreamed I would find a love like this, a partner who looks at me the way you do. You're my miracle, James." They held each other close, basking in the glow of their love, in the safety and acceptance of their embrace. The crisp fall breeze danced around them as if celebrating the beautiful connection they had found in each other. From that day forward, James and Natalie's relationship only grew stronger, their bond deepening with every passing day. They continued to navigate the joys and challenges of their love story hand in hand, secure in the knowledge that they had found their person, their once-in-a-lifetime love. To James, Natalie was everything. Not because she was transgender, but because she was her. The woman who made him laugh until his face hurt, who captivated him with her brilliant thoughts and ideas. The woman whose smile felt like the warmth of the sun, whose touch ignited an all-consuming fire within him. Natalie had captured his heart so thoroughly, so unexpectedly. And James knew he would never let her go. As James and Natalie's love story unfolded, they became increasingly intertwined in each other's lives. Late one evening, curled up on the couch together after a movie marathon, James turned to Natalie with a hopeful expression. "Hey, I was thinking, would you like to meet my family this weekend? They've been dying to meet the amazing woman who's captured my heart." Natalie's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of nervousness passing over her features. "Are you sure, James? I mean, I would love to meet them, but do they know about me? About my identity?" James reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "Natalie, my family knows how deeply I care for you. They know you're the most incredible person I've ever met. That's all that matters to them. I promise." Natalie softened, a touched smile gracing her lips. "In that case, I would be honored to meet your family, James." That weekend, James brought Natalie home to meet his parents and siblings. As they walked up the driveway hand in hand, Natalie took a deep breath, squeezing James's hand for reassurance. He squeezed back, his touch silently conveying his unwavering support and love. The moment they stepped inside, James's family enveloped Natalie in warm hugs and bright smiles. His mother, a kind-eyed woman with a welcoming presence, immediately took Natalie's hands in her own. "Natalie, we've heard so much about you," she gushed. "I'm thrilled to finally meet the woman who's brought such joy to our James's life." Natalie felt herself relax, the genuine acceptance and love radiating from James's family washing over her like a soothing balm. Throughout the evening, as they shared a delicious meal and engaged in lively conversation, not once did anyone question Natalie's identity or treat her as anything less than the amazing woman James adored. James's father regaled them with embarrassing childhood stories, making Natalie laugh until her sides ached. His siblings eagerly asked about her work and hobbies, genuinely interested in getting to know the person their brother had fallen for. As the night wore on and the happy chatter filled the room, James caught Natalie's eye across the table. They shared a private smile, a silent acknowledgement of the beautiful acceptance and love surrounding them. In that moment, Natalie felt truly seen, truly embraced for exactly who she was. Later, as they said their goodbyes and prepared to head home, James's mother pulled Natalie into a tight hug. "Thank you for loving my son so deeply, Natalie," she whispered. "You are an extraordinary woman, and we are so grateful to have you in our lives." Natalie's eyes misted over, her heart swelling with emotion. "Thank you for welcoming me so warmly," she replied softly. "Your acceptance means the world to me." As James and Natalie drove home that night, their hands intertwined over the console, a sense of peace and contentment settled over them. They had faced this milestone together, their love only growing stronger in the face of unwavering support and understanding. James glanced over at Natalie, his eyes shining with adoration. "I love you, Natalie, and my family loves you too, exactly as you are." Natalie smiled, a radiant expression that lit up the car. "I love you too, James, and I feel so incredibly blessed to be a part of your family." Late one evening, as they lay tangled in each other's arms, James turned to Natalie with a tender expression. "Move in with me," he murmured. Natalie's eyes widened, a flicker of surprise and joy dancing within their depths. "Are you sure, James?" she whispered, her heart racing at the thought of taking this significant step together. James smiled softly, pulling her closer and pressing a loving kiss to her forehead. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Natalie. I want to wake up beside you every morning and fall asleep with you in my arms every night. I want to build a home and a life with you." Natalie's eyes misted over, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Yes, James, 1,000 times yes. There's nothing I want more than to start this new chapter with you." Over the next few weeks, they threw themselves into the excitement of combining their lives. They spent weekends exploring furniture stores and home decor shops, laughing and playfully debating over color schemes and artwork. Every shared decision, Every moment of compromise and collaboration only served to deepen their bond and solidify their commitment to building a future together. The day Natalie officially moved in, James surprised her with a heartfelt gesture. As she stepped into their now shared apartment, she found a trail of rose petals leading to the bedroom. Curiosity piqued, she followed the fragrant path, her heart fluttering with anticipation. When she pushed open the bedroom door, Natalie gasped, tears springing to her eyes. The room was aglow with the soft light of countless candles, their flickering flames casting a warm, romantic ambiance. In the center of the bed lay a single red rose, a small velvet box nestled beside it. James emerged from the shadows, his eyes shining with love and nervousness. He approached Natalie, taking her hands in his own. "Natalie, my love," he began, his voice trembling with emotion. "From the moment you came into my life, everything changed. You've shown me what it means to love unconditionally, to embrace and cherish every part of someone. You've become my home, my heart, my everything." Slowly, James sank to one knee, reaching for the velvet box. Natalie's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes wide and brimming with tears. "I know we've already taken a big step today, moving in together," James continued, his gaze locked with hers. "But I can't imagine spending another day without knowing that you'll be mine forever. Natalie, my beautiful, extraordinary love, will you marry me?" With shaking hands, James opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring that sparkled in the candlelight. Natalie let out a watery laugh, joyful tears streaming down her cheeks. "Yes, James," she exclaimed, her voice filled with love and certainty. "Of course I'll marry you." James slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit. He rose to his feet, capturing Natalie's lips in a passionate, reverent kiss. They held each other tightly, lost in the overwhelming emotions of the moment. As they basked in the joy of their engagement, James and Natalie knew that this was just the beginning of their forever. They had found their soulmate, their partner in every sense of the word, and they couldn't wait to join on this new adventure together. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.